The camera clicks once in the abandoned darkroom, its shutter releasing after 11 years of silence, capturing nothing but dust motes dancing in a shaft of moonlight that shouldn't exist. Detective Sarah Chun freezes at the sound, her flashlight beam cutting through the basement darkness of the old Riverside photography studio. The building has been empty since 2013, condemned after the owner's mysterious disappearance. Yet somehow, impossibly, the vintage Nikon FM2 sitting on the developer's table just took a photograph. "Control, this is Chun," she whispers into her radio, never taking her eyes off the camera. "I need backup at 1247 Mill Street. Possible break-in." At the old studio, the crackling response feels distant, unreal. Sarah's attention fixates on the camera, the same model that 17-year-old Maya Kellner had clutched in her final known photograph, taken at the Riverside County Fair on September 14, 2013. Maya had vanished that night, leaving behind only scattered camera equipment and a half-eaten caramel apple, its surface already browning in the carnival lights. Sarah approaches the camera with trembling fingers. She recognizes it immediately. She stared at crime scene photos of this exact Nikon for countless hours over the past decade. The small scratches along the lens barrel, the faded property of RHS Photography Club sticker, every detail matches the evidence photos from Maya's case. But Maya's camera was supposed to be locked away in evidence storage, not sitting in this decrepit darkroom, apparently functional and somehow triggered by Sarah's presence. The film advance lever sits in the cocked position, indicating the camera has just taken a shot. Sarah's training screams at her not to touch anything, but something deeper, a pull she can't name, compels her to peer through the viewfinder. What she sees makes her blood freeze. Through the camera's eye, the darkroom transforms. Red light bathes everything in an otherworldly glow, and suddenly the space isn't empty anymore. A teenage girl with long auburn hair stands at the chemical baths, her back to Sarah, methodically developing photographs. The girl wears a vintage band t-shirt and ripped jeans, exactly what Maya Kellner wore the night she disappeared. Sarah jerks her head away from the viewfinder, gasping. The darkroom returns to its abandoned state. Broken enlargers, scattered chemicals containers, film canisters coated in 11 years of dust. But the acrid smell of developer solution hangs in the air now, impossible yet undeniable. Her radio crackles to life. "Chun, backups en route. ETA 4 minutes. Sarah's voice catches in her throat. "Copy that." She forces herself to look through the viewfinder again. The red-lit scene remains, but now the girl has turned slightly. Sarah can see her profile, the distinctive cleft chin, the constellation of freckles across her left cheek. It's Maya Kellner, exactly as she appeared in missing person posters that still hang in shop windows throughout Riverside. Maya moves with purpose, clipping developed photographs to align with tiny wooden clothespins. The images are too distant for Sarah to make out clearly, but they appear to show scenes from the county fair, carousel horses mid-gallop, crowds of laughing teenagers, vendors hawking cotton candy beneath strings of carnival lights. One photo catches Sarah's attention. It shows a man in a security uniform standing beside the Ferris wheel, his face partially obscured by shadows. Maya lifts this particular photograph, studying it intently, and Sarah sees something flash across the girl's face: recognition, then fear. The basement door creaks open upstairs. Heavy footsteps echo through the building as her backup arrives. "Down here," Sarah calls, but keeps her eye pressed to the viewfinder. Maya has moved to a filing cabinet now, pulling out manila folders thick with photographs. She spreads them across the work surface with shaking hands. "Jesus, Chun, what are you doing down here?" Officer Martinez's voice booms as he descends the stairs, flashlight beam dancing across the walls. "Look through this," Sarah whispers urgently, stepping aside from the camera. "Tell me what you see." Martinez peers through the viewfinder, frowns, then straightens. It's just an empty room, same as what we're looking at. Why? Sarah's heart pounds. She looks through the camera again, and Maya is still there, now frantically shuffling through photographs as if searching for something specific. The girl's movements have become erratic, desperate. You don't see a girl, auburn hair, developing photos? Martinez exchanges a glance with Officer Thompson, who has just joined them. Sarah, there's nobody here. This place has been sealed for over a decade. But Sarah sees Maya find what she's looking for, a photograph that makes the girl stumble backward, hand flying to her mouth in horror. The image shows a basement room, concrete walls lined with what appear to be dozens of photographs tacked up like a grotesque gallery. In the center of the frame stands a figure whose face is turned away from the camera, but whose security uniform is unmistakable. Maya drops the photograph, and it flutters to the darkroom floor. She spins toward the camera toward Sarah, and their eyes meet across 11 years of impossible time. Maya's lips move urgently, forming words Sarah can't hear. The girl points frantically at something behind Sarah, her expression shifting from fear to desperate warning. He's coming, Maya mouths, the words clear despite the silence. He knows you found it. The camera's viewfinder goes black. Sarah jerks her head up to find Martinez and Thompson staring at her with concern. The darkroom is empty, silent, dead. But on the floor where Maya dropped the photograph, a single piece of photo paper lies face down in the dust. With trembling hands, Sarah picks it up and turns it over. The image shows Sarah herself, standing in this exact darkroom, peering through the Nikon's viewfinder. But in the photograph, she's not alone. Behind her, barely visible in the shadows, a figure in a security uniform raises something toward her head. The flash of realization hits her the same moment she hears the basement door slam shut upstairs, trapping them below. In the sudden darkness, she hears Martinez and Thompson calling her name, but their voices seem to come from very far away, and from somewhere in the black, the camera clicks again. The emergency lighting flickers on, casting harsh shadows across the basement as Sarah pockets the impossible photograph. Her radio squeals with static before falling silent. The signal can't penetrate whatever has sealed them below. The doors jammed solid. Martinez calls from the stairs, his shoulder pressed against the wood. Feels like something heavy's been shoved against it. Sarah forces herself to focus on the present danger, though Maya's warning echoes in her mind. She examines the camera more carefully now, noting details she missed in her initial shock. The film counter shows 23 exposures remaining on a 36-shot roll. 13 photos have been taken, but when? We need to get out of here, Thompson says, testing the single basement window. It's painted shut and too small for an adult to crawl through anyway. This feels like a setup. Sarah's phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. You shouldn't have come here alone. Her blood chills. She shows the message to Martinez, whose expression darkens. How did anyone know we were here? The call came in anonymous someone. Reported suspicious lights in the building. Sarah's mind races back to the chain of events that brought her here. 3 days ago, she'd received a manila envelope with no return address, containing a single photograph, the Riverside photography studio with a red circle drawn around the basement window. On the back, someone had written in block letters, Maya's last roll September 14, 2013. She hadn't told anyone about the envelope, not even her partner Detective Ruiz. The Maya Kellner case had consumed her for 2 years, ever since she'd transferred to Riverside PD's Cold Case Division. Everyone said the girl had run away 17, artistic, troubled home life. But Sarah had never bought that theory. Maya was too passionate about photography to abandon her equipment. Too close to her younger sister Emma to disappear without a word. Too careful to wander off alone at a crowded fair where she'd gone to document the annual end-of-summer celebration for the school newspaper. Sarah, Martinez's voice cuts through her thoughts. Look at this. He's standing beside an old enlarger, pointing at the baseboard where someone has carved words into the wood. MK was here. September 14, 13. He took the others. Sarah kneels beside the carving, running her fingers over the letters. The cuts are deep, deliberate, made with something sharp. She pulls out her phone's flashlight for a better look and notices something else: tiny drops of what looks like dried blood in the grooves. This wasn't in any of the original crime scene reports, she says. Either the first responders missed it, or ... or someone carved it after the initial investigation, Thompson finishes grimly. Sarah's phone buzzes again. Another text. Check. The developing trays. Against every instinct screaming at her to get out, Sarah moves toward the chemical baths. The developer tray contains a murky solution that shouldn't exist after 11 years of abandonment. She shines her light into the liquid and sees the ghostly outline of a partially developed photograph floating just beneath the surface. Using a pair of tongs from the counter, she carefully lifts the image. It shows the Riverside County Fair. From an elevated perspective, taken from atop the Ferris wheel. In the foreground, teenage couples share cotton candy and pose for selfies. But in the background, barely visible in the Carnival's neon glow, a security guard leads a young girl away from the crowds toward a maintenance shed. The girl's auburn hair catches the light. It's Maya. Jesus Christ, Martinez breathes, looking over her shoulder. Is that the night she disappeared? Sarah's voice is barely a whisper. Someone was watching. Someone was documenting. Her phone rings, startling them all. The caller ID shows a local number she doesn't recognize. Against her better judgment, she answers. Detective Chun? The voice is young, female, trembling with emotion. Yes, who is this? My name is Emma Kellner. Maya was my sister. Sarah's heart stutters. She remembers Emma from the original investigation. Gangly 14-year-old with Maya's same auburn hair and fierce loyalty. Emma, I'm sorry, but I can't discuss an ongoing investigation. I'm the one who sent you the photograph. The one that brought you to the studio. The basement seems to shrink around Sarah. How did you know I was here? Because I've been watching the building for 3 days, waiting for someone to finally investigate. I saw you go in 20 minutes ago, and then I saw him follow you. Him? Who? Detective Chun, you need to get out of there right now. The man who took Maya, he's in the building with you. Sarah's blood turns to ice. She motions frantically to Martinez and Thompson, who immediately move to defensive positions. Emma, call 911. Tell them we need immediate backup at the photography studio. Tell them we have a potential kidnapper on the premises. I already did. But detective, there's something else. Something I never told anyone during the original investigation because I was scared and stupid and 14 years old. What is it? The night Maya disappeared, she called me from the fair. She was excited because she'd seen something, or someone she thought would break open a story she'd been working on for months. She'd been investigating a missing person case, trying to prove that several kids who'd supposedly run away from foster care had actually been taken. Sarah feels pieces clicking into place. What kind of story? She said she had proof that someone in a position of authority was trafficking kids. Someone who could move them around without attracting attention. She was going to confront him that night. Thompson appears at Sarah's elbow, pointing toward the stairs. Someone's moving around up there, he whispers. Emma's voice continues urgently through the phone. Detective, Maya told me if anything happened to her, I should look for her last roll of film. She said she hid it somewhere safe, somewhere connected to her work. Sarah looks at the camera sitting on the developer's table, then at the photograph in her hand. Emma, did Maya ever mention this photography studio specifically? All the time. She had an internship there the summer before she disappeared. She said Mr. Carver, the owner, taught her everything about traditional film development. But detective, there's something about Mr. Carver you need to know. A loud crash echoes from upstairs, followed by the sound of splintering wood. Emma, I have to go. Keep calling for backup. Wait. Detective, Mr. Carver didn't disappear until 3 weeks after Maya went missing. And before he owned the photography studio, he worked security for the county fair. The line goes dead. Sarah stares at her phone, Emma's words reverberating through her mind. Security for the county fair. The man in the photograph, leading Maya away from the crowds. The same uniform she'd seen in Maya's impossible vision through the camera. Sarah, Martinez hisses, we've got company. Footsteps descend the stairs, slow and deliberate. A flashlight beam cuts through the darkness, and behind it, Sarah can make out the silhouette of a man in uniform. But it's not a police uniform. It's the same security outfit she'd seen in every photograph, the Riverside County Fair logo visible on the sleeve, even after all these years. The man reaches the bottom of the stairs and turns his flashlight toward them. His face is weathered, but unmistakable from the old employee records Sarah had studied months ago. It's James Carver, owner of Riverside Photography Studio. The man who supposedly disappeared 3 weeks after Maya Kellner vanished. The man who, according to every official record, should have been dead for over a decade. Detective Chun. Carver says, his voice carrying the measured tone of someone accustomed to controlling situations. I've been expecting you. Sarah's hand moves instinctively toward her service weapon, but Carver raises his own gun, an older model revolver. That looks well maintained despite its age. Martinez and Thompson freeze beside her, their weapons still holstered. Slowly, Carver instructs. All 3 of you. Hands where I can see them. In the harsh beam of his flashlight, Sarah can see that time has been cruel to James Carver. His hair has gone completely white, and deep lines etch his face like scars. But his eyes remain sharp, calculating. The eyes of a predator who has spent years perfecting his craft. You've been very persistent, he continues, stepping fully into the basement. Most people would have accepted that Maya Kellner was just another runaway, but not you. Where is she? Sarah demands, her voice steadier than she feels. Where's Maya? Carver's laugh is dry, humorless. You're asking the wrong question, detective. You should be asking why her camera brought you here. Tonight, he gestures toward the Nikon with his free hand. That little device has been quite the problem for me. Maya was always too clever for her own good, too curious. She figured out what I was doing long before she should have. Sarah's mind races, trying to process the implications. The missing foster kids. Maya was investigating you. Maya was investigating a story that was going to destroy everything I'd built. Carver's voice hardens. Do you have any idea how difficult it is to maintain a network like mine? How many years of careful planning, relationship building, trust establishment it requires? Thompson shifts slightly, testing whether Carver will react. The older man swings his weapon toward him immediately. I wouldn't recommend that, officer. I've had 11 years to prepare for this moment. Carver's attention returns to Sarah. The fair was perfect cover, you know. Hundreds of kids passing through every year, many of them from broken homes, many of them already in the system. Who notices when 1 or 2 go missing? Who cares about kids that society has already thrown away? Sarah feels sick. How many? Over the years, dozens. Maya would have been just another tragic statistic if she hadn't been so damn stubborn about that camera of hers. Carver moves closer to the developing table, never taking his gun off them. She was supposed to meet me here that night after the fair. Told me she had something important to show me, photographs that would change everything, she said. The little fool thought I was going to help her expose the truth. Sarah remembers the photograph floating in the developer solution, the image of Maya being led away from the carnival crowds. But you were there that night, at the fair. Of course I was there. I worked security every year. It was how I identified potential targets. Maya saw me talking to one of my contacts, photographed. The exchange. She thought she was documenting evidence. Carver reaches into his jacket pocket with his free hand and pulls out a familiar manila envelope. She was right, in a way. These photographs would have destroyed me. Lucky for me, she was also naive enough to trust her mentor. He dumps the contents of the envelope onto the developer's table. Black and white photographs scatter across the surface, dozens of them, all bearing Maya's distinctive composition style. Sarah can see enough detail to make out faces, license plates, locations. Maya's insurance policy, Carver explains. She hid these here the night before she disappeared, along with detailed notes about my operation. Thought she was being clever, keeping them in the one place I'd never think to look, my own studio. Martinez finds his voice. Why didn't you just destroy them? Because I needed to know who else she might have told. And because ... double quotes, Carver's expression shifts, becoming almost wistful. Maya was special, talented. She had an eye for capturing truth that most photographers never develop. It seemed a shame to simply eliminate her work along with her. Sarah's blood runs cold. You kept her here. For a while. Long enough to learn what she knew, who she'd spoken to. Long enough to ... appreciate her final work. Carver's smile is grotesque. Maya spent her last 3 weeks developing every roll of film she'd shot that summer. Quite the prolific artist, even under duress. The camera on the table suddenly clicks again, its shutter releasing without anyone touching it. Carver spins toward the sound, momentarily distracted. What the hell? Sarah seizes the moment, diving toward the chemical trays as Martinez and Thompson rush Carver from opposite sides. The gun fires, the sound deafening in the enclosed space. Thompson cries out and stumbles, clutching his shoulder. But Martinez reaches Carver, and they crash into the enlarger equipment. Sarah's hands close around the Nikon, and the moment she touches it, the world shifts again. The red light returns, bathing everything in that otherworldly glow. But this time, she's not just seeing Maya's ghost, she's seeing Maya's memories. Through the camera's eye, Sarah watches as 17-year-old Maya develops photograph after photograph in this same basement, tears streaming down her face. But these aren't the Carnival photos Sarah saw earlier. These images show children, dozens of them, in various stages of captivity. Some are clearly frightened, others appear drugged or unconscious. All of them are young, vulnerable, forgotten. Maya's ghost turns toward Sarah, no longer mouthing words but speaking directly into her mind. The proof is in the walls. He made me watch him hide it. Behind the enlarger, there's a loose brick. The vision fractures as Carver's voice cuts through. The supernatural connection. Get away from that camera. Sarah jerks back to reality to find Carver standing over Martinez's unconscious form, his gun pointed directly at her. Thompson sits slumped against the wall, blood seeping through his fingers where he clutches his wounded shoulder. That camera has been nothing but trouble, Carver snarls. Maya was obsessed with it, claimed it could capture truth. Nonsense. Of course, but she believed it right up until the end. Sarah clutches the Nikon tighter. What did you do to her? What I had to do. Maya wouldn't stop digging, wouldn't accept that some stories are better left untold. She made me a choice, her life or my freedom. Carver's voice grows distant, almost regretful. One chose poorly, perhaps. Maya had such potential. You're insane, unpractical. Carver's attention sharpens again. And I'm running out of time. The calls you made earlier have been intercepted, Detective. My associates are handling your backup, but we only have a few minutes before more arrive. He gestures toward the stairs with his gun. We're leaving, all of us. I'm not going anywhere with you. Yes, you are. Because if you don't, officer. Thompson bleeds out down here, and Martinez never wakes up. And because, Carver smiles coldly, I still have work to finish. Maya's camera may have brought you here, but it's going to take you somewhere else entirely. Sarah looks at Thompson, whose face has gone pale from blood loss, then at Martinez, who shows no signs of consciousness. She has no choice. But as she stands, her hand still gripping Maya's camera, she feels the loose brick that Maya's ghost had shown her. It shifts slightly under her touch. Carver doesn't notice her subtle movement as she palms a small object that falls from the hiding spot, a memory card, wrapped in plastic to protect it from moisture. Maya's final gift, the digital backup of everything she'd discovered. Move, Carver orders, gesturing toward the stairs. As Sarah climbs toward whatever fate awaits above, she slips the memory card into her jacket pocket. Behind them, the camera clicks one final time, as if Maya herself is documenting this moment. The sound makes Carver pause, glancing back with something that might be fear flickering across his face. She never did know when to stop taking pictures, he mutters. But Sarah hears something else in his voice now, uncertainty. And for the first time since this nightmare began, she allows herself to hope that Maya's relentless pursuit of truth might save them all. The basement door opens above them, revealing not the exit Sarah expected, but a windowless van waiting. In the alley behind the building. In the distance, sirens finally begin to wail. The van's interior reeks of chemical preservatives and something else, something organic and wrong that makes Sarah's stomach clench. Carver forces her into the back compartment, which has been stripped of seats and lined with metal shelving. Photography equipment fills every available space, enlargers, developing tanks, boxes of photo paper, and dozens of manila envelopes labeled with dates going back 15 years. Welcome to my mobile darkroom, Carver says, securing her hands with zip ties. Amazing what you can accomplish when you plan ahead. Through the van's rear window, Sarah watches the photography studio shrink into the distance. The sirens grow louder, but they're heading toward the building she's just left, not following this unmarked vehicle through Riverside's industrial district. Carver climbs into the driver's seat, speaking into a radio handset. Package acquired. Proceeding to secondary location. What's the status on the responding units? A scratchy voice responds, delayed. Anonymous tip about a gas leak forced evacuation of the surrounding blocks. You've got at least 30 minutes before they can access the building. Sarah's heart sinks. Martinez and Thompson are still trapped in that basement, and now emergency responders can't even reach them. She tests the zip ties binding her wrists. They're tight, professional grade. You've done this before, she says. Carver glances at her in the rearview mirror. Many times. Though usually my passengers are younger and less observant. His voice carries a disturbing note of nostalgia. Maya was different, of course. She kept asking questions right up until the end, wanted to understand the process, document everything, even when she knew what was going to happen to her. The van turns onto a narrow road that leads away from town, toward the abandoned industrial area near the old quarry. Sarah recognizes the route several missing person cases have had their last known sightings in this direction over the years. Where are you taking me? To see my gallery. Maya's work is featured prominently, of course. She had such an eye for composition, even under stress. Carver's voice takes on the tone of a proud teacher discussing a prized student. Her final series was particularly moving. The progression from defiance to acceptance to transcendence. Sarah feels bile rise in her throat. You photographed her death. I documented her transformation. Maya came to understand, in those final days, that her work would live on as part of something greater. Her images helped me perfect my techniques, refine my methods. The van slows as they approach a seemingly abandoned warehouse complex. Rusted signs identify it as the former Riverside Chemical Storage Facility, closed since the early 2000s due to environmental violations. The perfect place for someone to work undisturbed. Carver parks beside a loading dock and kills the engine. In the sudden silence, Sarah can hear her own heartbeat and something else, a rhythmic clicking sound, like a camera's motor drive advancing film. "Ah," Carver says, noticing her expression. "You hear them too." Maya always said the cameras never really stop working, not when they've captured something important. Sometimes I think she might have been right. He opens the van's rear doors, and the clicking sounds grow louder. They seem to come from all directions, as if dozens of cameras are firing simultaneously in some ghostly symphony. The warehouse interior has been transformed into something that makes Sarah's blood freeze. Photographs line every wall from floor to ceiling, thousands of them, all black and white, all showing the same subject matter: children, young faces frozen in expressions of fear, confusion, desperation. But it's not just a display, it's a timeline. Sarah can see the progression, the way Carver's technique evolved over the years. The early photos are crude, rushed. But as the timeline advances, they become more artistic, more carefully composed, more disturbing. "My life's work," Carver says with obvious pride. 23 years of documentation. Each image tells a story, captures a moment of truth that would otherwise be lost forever. Sarah forces herself to look away from the photographs, scanning for exits or weapons. The warehouse has been divided into sections, the main gallery. Where they stand, what appears to be a darkroom area with red lighting, and several smaller rooms whose purposes she doesn't want to imagine. "Maya's section is over here," Carver says, guiding her toward the far wall. "I think you'll find her final work particularly compelling." The Maya Kellner section makes Sarah's knees weak. Unlike the other photographs, these show the progression of a single subject over several weeks. The early images capture Maya's defiance, chin raised, eyes blazing with anger and determination. But as the sequence continues, that fire gradually dims. The final photograph in the series shows Maya holding her beloved Nikon camera, but her expression has changed completely. She looks directly at the lens with what appears to be acceptance, even serenity. But her eyes hold a message. That makes Sarah's breath catch. Maya's eyes are looking not at Carver's camera, but slightly to the left, as if she can see something beyond the frame. Something that gives her hope even in that final moment. "She never stopped believing someone would find the truth," Sarah whispers. "Maya was always an optimist," Carver agrees. "Right up until the end, she insisted that her camera, that ridiculous Nikon, would somehow expose me. Nonsense, of course. I destroyed all her film rolls except the ones I chose to develop myself." Sarah remembers the memory card hidden in her jacket pocket. Maya had found a way to preserve her evidence after all, had managed to create a digital backup that Carver never discovered. The clicking sounds grow louder, more insistent. Carver frowns, glancing around the warehouse with growing unease. "They've been doing that all week," he mutters. "Ever since someone broke into the photography studio and triggered the alarm system. It's as if Maya's ghost is trying to tell me something." Sarah's phone, somehow still in her pocket despite being zip-tied, buzzes with an incoming text. Carver immediately confiscates it, reading the message with a deepening scowl. "Emma Kellner," he says. "Maya's little sister. She's been quite persistent lately, asking questions about her sister's final project." He shows Sarah the text. "I know what you did. I have proof. Meet me at Riverside Park at midnight, or I go to the FBI. Seems I'll have 2 Kellner sisters to add to my collection after all," Carver says. Maya would have loved a family reunion. But Sarah sees something Carver misses. The timestamp on the text shows it was sent 2 hours ago, well before Sarah's arrival at the photography studio. Emma didn't send this message tonight. She sent it earlier, knowing somehow that events would unfold exactly as they have. The clicking sounds suddenly stop. leaving an eerie silence that seems to press against Sarah's eardrums. In that quiet, she hears something else, the distant sound of vehicles approaching. Carver hears it too. His face hardens as he pulls out his radio. "Control, I've got activity approaching the warehouse." "What's your status?" Static answers him. He tries again, growing agitation evident in his voice. "Control, respond." "What's happening out there?" Sarah allows herself a small smile. "I think your associates might be having some problems." "Shut up." Carver draws his gun again, but his confidence is cracked. The approaching vehicles are getting closer, and the radio remains silent. Then, impossibly, one of the cameras on the wall begins to click again, a single unit, firing shot after shot in rapid succession. Carver spins toward the sound, and Sarah sees her chance. The memory card in her pocket contains Maya's evidence, but it won't matter if she doesn't survive to deliver it. And somewhere out there, Emma Kellner is walking into a trap, believing she's orchestrating a rescue. Sarah knows she has one shot at this. Maya's ghost, or her memory, or whatever force has been guiding this investigation, has brought her this far. Now it's time to finish what the teenager started 11 years ago. The warehouse doors explode inward as tactical lights flood the space, and Sarah realizes that Emma Kellner has been far more clever than any of them imagined. "FBI, nobody move." The tactical team floods into the warehouse with military precision, assault rifles trained on Carver, who freezes with his gun halfway raised. Sarah drops to the floor as red laser dots dance across the walls, illuminating the grotesque gallery in crimson light. "James Carver, you are under arrest for kidnapping, human trafficking, and multiple counts of murder." The lead agent's voice echoes through the space. "Drop your weapon." Carver's face cycles through confusion, rage, and finally a cold calculation. That chills Sarah to the bone. Instead of surrendering, he grabs her by the zip-tied wrists and hauls her to her feet, pressing his gun to her temple. "Back off," he shouts. "All of you, back off, or the detective dies." The tactical lights illuminate every corner of the warehouse now, revealing the full scope of Carver's operation. Sarah can see additional rooms she hadn't noticed before, spaces that look like holding cells, a medical area with restraints, and what appears to be a shipping zone with wooden crates large enough to hold human cargo. "How did you find us?" Carver demands, his grip tightening on Sarah's shoulder. "My people had eyes on all the access routes." A familiar voice answers from behind the tactical team. "Because your people weren't watching for a 25-year-old woman with 11 years of planning and nothing left to lose." Emma Kellner steps into the light, but she's not the gangly 14-year-old Sarah remembers from the original investigation. This Emma is composed, professional, wearing an FBI windbreaker over tactical gear. The family resemblance to Maya is unmistakable, but where Maya had been artistic and impulsive, Emma radiates controlled fury. "Special Agent Emma Kellner," she introduces herself, her eyes never leaving Carver's face. "Maya was my sister. You killed her. And I've spent every day of the last 11 years making sure you'd pay for it." Carver's laugh is harsh, disbelieving. "The FBI? Maya's little sister joined the FBI?" Maya's little sister spent 4 years studying criminal psychology at Quantico while building a case against you. Every missing child report, every unsolved disappearance, every piece of evidence that local departments couldn't connect, I connected them. Emma's voice is steady, but Sarah can hear the emotion barely contained beneath the surface. "You made one mistake, Carver. You kept her camera." The Nikon, still clutched in Sarah's bound hands, suddenly grows warm. Sarah looks down and sees that the film counter now reads 0 somehow. The camera has advanced through its entire roll during the confrontation. "Maya always said that camera could capture truth," Emma continues. "I never believed her until I started receiving the photographs." "What photographs?" Carver snarls. Emma pulls out a tablet, swiping through digital images. Each one shows the warehouse from impossible angles, aerial views that no drone could have captured. Interior shots taken from positions where no photographer could have hidden. These started appearing in my email 3 months ago. No sender. Address, no metadata that could be traced. Just images of this place, with timestamps showing exactly when you brought each victim here. Sarah stares at the tablet screen. The photographs show Carver's operation in devastating detail. Children being unloaded from vans, the progressive transformation of the warehouse into a holding facility, even images of Carver himself arranging the grotesque gallery wall. Maya's camera, Sarah whispers, understanding flooding through her. It's been documenting everything. Impossible, Carver snaps, but his voice wavers. It's just an old film camera. There's no digital component, no wireless capability. You're right, Emma agrees. It shouldn't be possible. But Maya always believed that some truths are too important to stay buried. She used to say that cameras don't just capture light, they capture the essence of a moment, the reality that people try to hide. The Nikon clicks again once, and Sarah sees that a single frame of film has somehow appeared in the advance chamber. Without thinking, she triggers the shutter release. The flash illuminates the entire warehouse for a split second, and in that moment of brilliant white light, Sarah sees them, the ghosts of Carver's victims. Dozens of children standing among the photographs of themselves, no longer afraid but angry, demanding justice. Carver screams, releasing his grip on Sarah as he staggers backward. They're not real. They can't be real. But Sarah sees Maya among them now, standing directly in front of her killer. The teenager raises her own camera, a ghostly echo of the Nikon Sarah holds, and takes a photograph. The sound of the spectral shutter coincides with the click of Sarah's camera, and suddenly Carver's gun isn't pointed at her anymore. His hands shake uncontrollably as he stares at something only he can see. Maya, he whispers. You're supposed to be dead. I watched you die. I documented every moment. Emma signals to her team, who move in swiftly to disarm and restrain Carver. But the man barely resists. He's transfixed by whatever vision Maya's final photograph has shown him. You never understood, Emma says, approaching her sister's killer. As the agents secure him, Maya didn't just take pictures. She revealed truth. And the truth is that evil always leaves evidence, no matter how carefully you try to hide it. Sarah's hands are finally freed from the zip ties, and she immediately checks the camera. The film counter shows that one frame remains, but the advance lever won't move. It's as if the camera is saving its final shot for something specific. Emma, Sarah says urgently, there's something you need to know. Maya hid evidence digital. Evidence. I have a memory card with everything she documented about Carver's operation. Emma's professional composure finally cracks. Tears stream down her face as she takes the memory card with trembling hands. She did it. She actually did it. After all these years, Maya finally got her story. Agent Kellner, one of the tactical team members, calls out. We've got multiple victims in the holding area. Some of them are alive. Emma wipes her eyes and immediately shifts back into FBI mode. Medical teams are standing by. Get everyone stabilized and transported. And I want every inch of this place photographed and cataloged. As the rescue operation swings into full gear, Sarah finds herself alone with Maya's camera for a moment. She raises it to her eye one final time, looking through the viewfinder at the warehouse that held so many secrets. Through the lens, she sees Maya one last time. The teenager smiles, the first genuinely happy expression Sarah has seen from her spirit, and nods toward the camera. Thank you, Maya's voice whispers directly into Sarah's mind, for not giving up, for believing. Sarah lowers the camera and Maya is gone. But the warmth Sarah feels tells her that the girl's spirit is finally at peace. Detective Chun. Martinez's voice calls from the warehouse entrance. He's being supported by 2 paramedics, but he's conscious and alert. Thompson's stable. Bullet went clean through, missed anything vital. Sarah rushes toward him, relief flooding through her. How did you get out? Emma's team found us 20 minutes after you were taken. Had to cut through the basement door. Something had welded it shut from the outside. Martinez looks around the warehouse with amazement. Jesus, Sarah, how long has this been going on? Before Sarah can answer, Emma approaches with the evidence. Bag containing dozens of memory cards and external drives. We found Carver's digital archives, she says grimly. Everything from the last 15 years. Photos, videos, shipping manifests, client lists. This is going to break open trafficking rings across 3 states. Sarah nods, but her attention is drawn to one final detail. In her hands, Maya's camera clicks one last time, advancing to the final frame. The film counter now reads 1. Without hesitation, Sarah raises the camera and points it at the wall where Maya's photographs hang. She presses the shutter release. The final flash illuminates not just the wall, but the ghost of Maya Kellner standing beside her own image. In that captured moment, Sarah sees something beautiful. Maya is no longer alone. The spirits of all Carver's victims stand with her, finally, ready to rest. When the flash fades, the warehouse feels different, lighter, as if a great weight has been lifted. Emma sees the change too. She's gone, isn't she? Maya, I can't feel her anymore. Sarah hands Emma the camera. Her work is finished. She can rest now. But as Emma takes the Nikon, they both hear one more sound, not a camera click this time, but something else entirely. It's the sound of a phone ringing, coming from somewhere deep within the warehouse. A phone that, according to all the evidence, should have been disconnected 11 years ago. The phone's shrill ring echoes from a section of the warehouse that the tactical team hasn't cleared yet. Emma signals to her agents, who move cautiously toward the sound, weapons drawn. Sarah follows despite Emma's protests. After everything she's been through tonight, she needs to see this investigation through to its end. The ringing leads them to what appears to be Carver's command center, multiple monitors, radio equipment, and filing cabinets secured with heavy-duty locks. The phone itself is an old rotary model, incongruous among the modern electronics. Emma lets it ring 3 more times before answering, activating a speaker so everyone can hear. Carver? The voice is distorted, run through a voice modulator. But the urgency is unmistakable. What's your status? We've lost contact with the intercept teams. Emma covers the mouthpiece and whispers instructions to her communication specialist, who immediately begins tracing the call. Then she responds. In a flat, neutral tone, situation compromised. Abort all operations. A pause. Who is this? You're not Carver. Special Agent Emma Kellner, FBI. James Carver is in federal custody. This operation is over. The line goes silent for several seconds. When the voice returns, the electronic distortion can't mask the panic. You have no idea what you've done. Carver was small time. There are others, and they won't be as careless as he was. Then tell us who they are. A harsh laugh. I'm not going to prison for that psychopath's obsession with his photography gallery. But I'll give you one piece of advice, Agent Kellner. Your sister's evidence doesn't stop with Carver. She was documenting something much bigger. Sarah's. Blood chills. Maya had been investigating more than just missing foster children. She'd stumbled onto an entire network. What do you mean? Emma demands. Check the drives. Maya Kellner didn't just photograph Carver's operation. She identified the transport routes, the safe houses, the buyers. We've been hunting for her evidence for 11 years, and that fool Carver led you right to it. The communications specialist signals to Emma. They've traced the call to a location. Across town. Emma immediately dispatches units to the address while keeping the caller on the line. If you cooperate, Emma says. "We can arrange protection." Protection? The voice cuts her off. From whom? You think this is just about trafficked children? Your sister photographed a governor's aide taking delivery of a shipment. She documented federal judges purchasing services. She captured evidence of operations spanning from Mexico to Canada. Sarah feels the pieces clicking into place. Maya hadn't just been a talented teenager with a camera sheet, then an inadvertent investigative journalist who'd uncovered a conspiracy that reached into the highest levels of government. The memory card, Sarah says urgently to Emma. We need to see what's on that memory card. Emma nods to one of her tech specialists, who immediately connects the device to a secure laptop. The screen fills with thumbnail images, hundreds of them, all meticulously organized by date and location. Jesus, the tech specialist breathes. This is ... this is massive. The photographs tell a story that makes Sarah's stomach turn. Maya had documented not just individual crimes, but an entire infrastructure, shipping manifests with coded language, license plates cross-referenced with known trafficking routes, facial recognition matches connecting seemingly unrelated individuals across multiple states. But it's the final folder that makes Emma gasp audibly. It's labeled Insurance, and it contains photographs of documents, bank records, wire transfers, and communication logs that implicate dozens of high-profile individuals. Your sister was thorough, the voice on the phone continues. Too thorough. For her own good. We couldn't risk letting her publish that story. So you had her killed. We had her stopped. Carver was supposed to simply eliminate the evidence, but his ego got in the way. He wanted to keep trophies. A pause. It doesn't matter now. You found her archives, but you'll never be able to use them. Why not? Because half the people who would prosecute this case are already compromised. And the other half won't survive the week. The line goes dead. Emma stares at the phone for a moment, then turns to her team. I want that location secured immediately. And get Director Hayes on a secure line. We need federal protection for everyone involved in this investigation. Sarah's phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. Her heart sinks as she reads it. You should have left the past buried, detective. Check your home. Emma sees her expression and immediately grabs Sarah's phone. We need to get you into protective custody. Now. No, Sarah says firmly. These people have been operating for over a decade because victims stayed silent and investigators got scared. I'm not hiding. Sarah, be reasonable. Maya Kellner was 17 years old and she didn't hide. She gathered evidence until the very end, even knowing what it would cost her. Sarah looks at the camera in Emma's hands. I'm not going to dishonor her memory by running away from the truth. Emma studies her for a moment, then nods. All right. But we do this by the book. Full federal protection, secured locations, coordinated with other agencies. And we move fast before they can eliminate more evidence. As if summoned by her words, Agent Martinez's radio crackles to life. All units. We have multiple structure fires across the city. Targets include the old county courthouse, 3 storage facilities, and the Riverside Foster Care Administration building. Sarah and Emma exchange grim looks. The network is destroying evidence, eliminating anything that might connect them to Maya's investigation. How long do we have? Sarah asks. Emma checks her watch. The memory card data is already being uploaded to secure federal servers so they can't destroy the core evidence. But they're going to try to eliminate anyone who can testify about it, including us. Sarah looks around the warehouse one more time, taking in the scope of Carver's operation and the magnitude of what Maya uncovered. Then she makes a decision that will either save lives or end her own. Emma, give me the camera. Why? Because Maya's work isn't finished yet. She documented the network, but she didn't expose it. That's still our job. Emma hands over the Nikon and Sarah immediately feels the familiar warmth in her hands. The film counter still shows one frame remaining, Maya's final shot, still waiting to be taken. "Where are we going?" Emma asks as Sarah heads for the warehouse exit. "To the one place Maya never had a chance to photograph," Sarah replies. "The place where all of this started, which is..." Sarah looks at the camera's viewfinder, and suddenly she knows exactly where Maya's spirit has been guiding her all along. The Riverside County Fair. It opens tomorrow for its annual Memorial Day weekend run. The same fair where Maya disappeared 11 years ago. "Sarah, that's where they'll be. The fair is perfect cover for moving people, just like Carver said. And if Maya's evidence is right, tomorrow night is when the next major shipment goes out." Emma's phone rings. It's her director, calling with news that will change everything. "Agent Kellner? We've just received word that the governor is planning to attend the fair's opening ceremony tomorrow, along with 3 federal judges and a dozen other officials mentioned in your sister's evidence." Sarah raises Maya's camera and looks through the viewfinder one more time. In the distance, she can see the Ferris wheel lights of the Riverside County Fair, already being prepared for tomorrow's opening. And somehow, impossibly, she can see Maya standing beneath those lights, waiting for someone to finally complete the story she died trying to tell. The Riverside County Fair spreads across 50 acres of converted farmland, transformed overnight into a maze of carnival rides, game booths, and food vendors. Sarah stands at the entrance at 6 p.m., wearing a wire beneath her volunteer photographer's vest, Emma's idea to give her legitimate access to restricted areas. "Testing, testing," she whispers into the concealed microphone. Emma's voice crackles in her nearly invisible earpiece. "Copy that. Sarah, we have eyes on all major entrances and the VIP area. Remember, your job is documentation only. Do not engage." But Sarah knows documentation is exactly what Maya died trying to accomplish. She raises the Nikon, now loaded with a fresh roll of film courtesy of the FBI's evidence team, and begins shooting. Through the camera's viewfinder, the fair looks different than it does to the naked eye. Sharper somehow, as if Maya's spirit is helping her focus on details others would miss. Her first target is the security checkpoint where VIPs will enter in 2 hours for the ribbon-cutting ceremony. Sarah photographs the guards, noting their faces and the way they position themselves to monitor not just incoming threats, but escape routes. These aren't typical fair security, they move with military precision. "Emma," Sarah whispers, "the security team at Gate 7, run facial recognition on them. They're not locals. Copy that. What else are you seeing?" Sarah moves deeper into the fair, following the route Maya would have taken 11 years ago. The photography club had been assigned to document the opening night festivities for the school newspaper. Sarah can almost see the teenage Maya walking this same path, camera raised, capturing moments of innocent joy while unknowingly documenting something sinister. Near the livestock barns, Sarah spots something that makes her heart race. A line of utility trucks is parked behind the animal pens, far from public view. The vehicles bear the logo of Riverside Electrical Services, but their license plates don't match the company registration Emma had checked earlier. She photographs the trucks, zooming in on the license plates and the faces of the men loading equipment into them. But as she lowers her camera, one of the men looks directly at her. Recognition flashes across his face, not of Sarah herself, but of the camera she carries. "We've got a problem," Sarah whispers urgently. Someone recognized Maya's camera. The man is already walking toward her, speaking into a radio. Sarah turns and heads toward the crowd, hoping to lose herself among the families and teenagers enjoying the fair. But as she glances back, she sees 2 more men converging on her position. "Sarah, get to the Ferris wheel." Emma's voice crackles in her ear. "We have agents positioned there." But the crowd is working against her now. The fair is packed with opening night visitors, and her movement is slow, obvious. She can hear the men closing in, their radio chatter growing more urgent. Sarah ducks into the funhouse, a maze of mirrors and optical illusions that might provide cover. Inside, the distorted reflections multiply her image infinitely, but they also multiply the images of her pursuers. In the warped mirrors she catches glimpses of the men searching for her, their faces twisted into grotesque masks by the curved glass. The Nikon grows warm in her hands again, and suddenly Sarah understands. She raises the camera and begins shooting, not random photographs, but deliberate documentation. Each flash illuminates a different mirror, capturing not just her own reflection, but the reflections of the men hunting her. Emma, I'm in the funhouse. I'm getting photos of the pursuit team. Sarah, get out of there. We're tracking your position, but the transmission cuts to static as Sarah moves deeper into the maze. The mirrors seem to multiply endlessly, creating a disorienting labyrinth where reality bends and truth becomes elusive. But through Maya's camera, Sarah sees something the naked eye would miss: hidden passages between the mirror sections, spaces where someone could hide or move unseen. She follows one of these passages and emerges not at the funhouse exit, but in a service area behind the Carnival games. From here, she has a clear view of the VIP entrance where the ribbon-cutting ceremony will take place in 90 minutes. That's when she sees him. Governor Richard Townsend stands beside a black sedan, shaking hands with a man Sarah recognizes from Maya's photographs, one of the network's key organizers. But more disturbing is what's happening in the background. Children are being led from a white van into a maintenance building, chaperoned by adults who definitely aren't parents. Sarah raises the camera and begins shooting, capturing every face, every license plate, every detail Maya would have documented. The flash draws attention, and she sees the governor's security detail scanning the area for its source. Her earpiece crackles back to life. Sarah, where are you? We lost your signal. Behind the ring toss games. Emma, the governor's here early. And they're moving children into the maintenance building behind the Ferris wheel. We see it. Federal teams are moving into position. Sarah, you need to get out of there. But as Sarah lowers the camera, she sees something that stops her cold. A young girl, maybe 13 years old, is being escorted from the van. The girl's auburn hair catches the carnival lights, and for a moment, Sarah's heart stops. She looks exactly like Maya did at that age. The girl turns, and their eyes meet across the chaos of the fair. In that instant, Sarah sees the same expression Maya's ghost had worn in the basement of the photography studio: desperate hope that someone, somewhere will witness the truth. Sarah raises the camera again, but this time, instead of the documentation shots she's been taking, she triggers the flash deliberately once, twice, 3 times in rapid succession. A signal. The girl understands immediately. She stumbles, pretending to trip, and in the confusion that follows, she breaks away from her handlers and runs toward the crowd. Emma! Sarah shouts into her microphone. Young girl, auburn hair, running toward the midway from the maintenance building. She's a victim protector. But Sarah's shouts have given away her position. The men who were hunting her in the funhouse have found her, and now they're closing in with backup. Sarah counts at least 6 figures moving through the carnival games toward her location. She has seconds to act. Looking through Maya's viewfinder one more time, Sarah sees the ghost of her young predecessor, standing beside the carousel, camera raised, documenting everything with fearless determination. Maya nods once as if giving permission for what comes next. Sarah advances the film to the final frame, the one Maya's spirit has been saving for 11 years, and raises the camera toward the VIP area, where Governor Townsend is now speaking urgently into a cell phone. Just as she's about to take the shot, a hand grabs her shoulder. Dr. Chen, I presume? Sarah spins to find herself face to face with a woman in an expensive suit, flanked by 2 security guards. The woman's smile is cold, predatory. My name is Victoria Sterling. I represent certain interests that your investigation has inconvenienced. Sarah recognizes the name from Maya's evidence files. Sterling is the lawyer who's been protecting the network's operations for over a decade. Where's the girl? Sarah demands. Safe. Much safer than you are at the moment. Sterling gestures subtly, and Sarah realizes they're surrounded. The security guards aren't just blocking her escape, they're herding her toward the maintenance building. You have something that belongs to us, Sterling continues. A camera with sentimental value. We'd like it back. It belongs to Maya Kellner. Maya Kellner is dead, has been for 11 years. It's time you joined her. But as Sterling reaches for the Nikon, Sarah makes a desperate decision. She triggers the shutter release, using the final frame Maya has been saving. The flash illuminates everything. Sterling's shocked face, the security guards reaching for their weapons, the maintenance building where children are being held, and Governor Townsend fleeing toward his sedan. And in that brilliant moment of captured light, Sarah sees them all, every ghost of every victim the network has claimed over the years. They stand behind Sterling and her guards, no longer hiding, no longer silent. The flash fades, but its effect lingers. Sterling stumbles backward, staring at something only she can see, while her guards look around in confusion. What did you do? Sterling whispers. Sarah smiles grimly, ejecting the finished roll of film and palming it. I completed Maya's assignment. The sound of FBI vehicles converging on the fair fills the air, but Sarah knows the real victory isn't in the arrests. That will follow. It's in the fact that Maya Kellner finally got her story. The FBI tactical teams sweep through the fair like a coordinated storm, but Sarah finds herself caught in the eye of the hurricane, trapped between Sterling's guards and the maintenance building where the children are being held. The woman who's orchestrated a decade of cover-ups stares at Sarah with a mixture of fury and something else, fear. You have no idea what you've unleashed, Sterling hisses. That camera, there's something wrong with it. Maya Kellner should have stayed buried. Before Sarah can respond, the maintenance building's doors burst open. Emma leads a rescue team inside, while other agents surround Governor Townsend, who's still attempting to reach his sedan. The children begin emerging from the building, 12 of them, ranging in age from 10 to 16, all showing signs of prolonged captivity. But it's the 13th figure that makes Sarah's heart stop. A girl with auburn hair steps out of the building, but she's not the 13-year-old Sarah saw earlier. This girl is older, maybe 17, and she moves with a confidence that seems impossible given the circumstances. When she turns towards Sarah, the family resemblance is unmistakable. It's Maya Kellner. Not a ghost, not a vision, Maya herself, alive and impossibly unchanged after 11 years. That's not possible, Sterling breathes, her professional composure finally cracking completely. We killed her. Carver documented everything. We watched her die. The girl who looks like Maya walks directly toward Sarah, ignoring the chaos erupting around them. FBI agents are shouting orders. Carnival goers are screaming and fleeing. But she moves through it all as if she exists in a different reality. Thank you, Maya says, her voice carrying the same warmth Sarah remembers from the ghostly encounters. For not giving up. For believing the truth mattered more than the cost. Sarah stares, unable to process what she's seeing. How? How are you alive? I'm not, Maya replies simply. I died 11 years ago, just like Carver said. But some stories are too important to end with death. She gestures toward the Nikon. In Sarah's hands. That camera has been my anchor, my way of continuing the work I started. Every photograph it took, every piece of evidence it revealed. That was me, still fighting, still documenting the truth. Sterling backs away from them, her face pale with terror. This isn't real. Ghosts don't exist. The dead don't come back. The dead don't usually have unfinished business this important, Maya agrees. But I had to make sure justice was served. Not just for me, but for all of them. She indicates the rescued children who are now being tended to by FBI medics. These kids and dozens of others over the years. The network thought they were untouchable because they eliminated anyone who could expose them. Sarah looks around the fair, taking in the scope of the FBI operation. Governor Townsend is in handcuffs, Sterling's security team is being arrested, and agents are securing evidence from multiple locations throughout the carnival. It's over? Sarah asks, almost. Maya takes the exposed roll of film from Sarah's palm. There's one more photograph that needs to be developed. The final shot, the one that will tie everything together. Emma appears at Sarah's side, her face flushed with adrenaline and victory. Sarah, are you all right? We've got Sterling in custody, and the children are safe. The governor is claiming diplomatic immunity, but that won't hold up once we... She stops mid-sentence, staring at Maya. Who is this? Sarah realizes that Emma can't see her sister's spirit. To Emma, Sarah appears to be talking to empty air while holding a roll of film that materialized from nowhere. Emma, Sarah says, carefully, I need you to develop this film. Tonight, it contains the final piece of evidence Maya wanted to preserve. Emma takes the film, studying it with confusion. Where did this come from? You've been under surveillance all evening. It's Maya's last roll, the one she's been saving for 11 years. Emma's expression shifts from confusion to understanding. She's felt her sister's presence throughout this investigation, even if she couldn't see her directly. All right, Emma says quietly. I'll have the lab develop it immediately. Priority processing. Maya nods approvingly, then turns back to Sarah. There's something else you need to know. The network is bigger than what you've uncovered tonight. Carver and Sterling were middle management. The real power operates at levels you haven't imagined. Yet, what do you mean? Check the governor's phone records from tonight. When he made that call after seeing you taking photographs, he wasn't calling his security detail. He was calling someone much higher up the chain. Sarah feels a chill of understanding. How high? High enough that some of the people who will prosecute this case might try to bury parts of it. High enough that the evidence needs to be preserved in multiple locations with multiple agencies. Maya, Sarah says urgently, if the network is that powerful, how do we ensure the truth comes out? Maya smiles, the same fearless expression she'd worn in all her photographs. The same way investigative journalists always have. You don't rely on a single story or a single source. You build an overwhelming case that can't be suppressed. She gestures toward the Nikon camera. That camera documented everything over the past 11 years, but now it needs to serve a different purpose. Every photograph it takes from now on will carry a piece of the truth forward. It's going to be your tool for making sure this story doesn't get buried. But I'm not a journalist. I'm just a detective. Maya wasn't a journalist either when she started. She was just a teenager with a camera and a belief that truth matters. Maya's form begins to shimmer, becoming translucent. The camera chooses its own bearers, Sarah. It chose Maya, and now it's chosen you. Sarah looks down at the Nikon, feeling its familiar weight. What happens now? Now you continue the work. There are other networks, other victims, other truths that need exposing. The camera will guide you, just like it guided you to me. Emma returns with news from the mobile crime lab. The film's being developed now. We should have prints in 20 minutes. She pauses, looking around as if sensing something she can't quite identify. Sarah, do you feel that? Like someone's watching us? Maya laughs softly. She always was perceptive. Tell her I'm proud of who she became, and that I never blamed her for not being able to save me. Maya, Sarah says as the spirit begins to fade, will I see you again? Every time you look through that viewfinder with the intention of revealing truth, you'll see me. I'm part of the camera now, part of its mission. Maya's voice grows distant but remains clear. And Sarah? When you develop that final photograph, you'll understand why this investigation was always meant to be yours to finish. Maya's spirit dissolves into the carnival lights, leaving Sarah alone with Emma and the weight of a story that's far from over. 20 minutes later, Emma emerges from the mobile lab with a single black and white photograph, her face pale with shock. "Sarah," she says, her voice barely above a whisper, "you need to see this." The photograph shows the exact moment Sarah triggered the camera's final flash. But instead of capturing Sterling and her guards, the image reveals something impossible: Sarah herself, standing in the exact spot where Maya Kellner had been positioned 11 years ago when she took her final photograph. In the background, barely visible but unmistakably present, stands Detective Sarah Chun's own father wearing a Riverside County fair security uniform and a guilty expression that explains everything. Sarah stares at the photograph until her hands shake, the impossible image burning itself into her memory. Her father, Detective Captain Robert Chun, stands in a security uniform from 11 years ago, his face turned toward Maya's camera with an expression of recognition and guilt. "That's impossible," Sarah whispers. "My father was never security at the fair. He was a detective in the narcotics division." Emma studies the photograph with professional detachment, but Sarah can see the sympathy in her eyes. "Sarah, we need to talk about this rationally. When did your father retire?" 2 weeks after Maya disappeared. He said he wanted to spend more time with family after. Sarah's voice trails off as the implications hit her. "After I told him I was thinking about pursuing journalism in college instead of law enforcement." The memory comes flooding back with devastating clarity. Sarah had been 17, the same age as Maya, when she'd announced her intention to study investigative journalism. Her father had been furious, insisting that police work was the only honorable way to serve justice. 2 weeks later, he'd abruptly retired and moved the family across the country to Seattle. "He made us leave Riverside," Sarah says, her voice hollow. "Told us there were better opportunities in Washington. I never questioned it because he was my father, and I trusted him." Emma's earpiece crackles to life. "Agent Kellner, we need you at the command post. Governor Townsend is requesting to speak with you specifically about Detective Chun's father." Sarah feels the world tilt beneath her feet. "He knows. The governor knows something about my father." They rush to the FBI's mobile command center, where Governor Townsend sits in handcuffs, his expensive suit wrinkled and his political composure completely shattered. When he sees Sarah, his face goes white. "You're Robert Chun's daughter," he says. "It's not a question." "What do you know about my father?" Sarah demands. Townsend laughs bitterly. "Your father? Your father was the one who convinced us Maya Kellner was a problem that needed to be eliminated. He's the one who identified her as a threat to the operation." The words hit Sarah like physical blows. "You're lying. Detective Chun was our inside man for over 5 years. He provided intelligence on investigations that got too close to our activities. When Maya started documenting our operations, your father was the one who suggested we recruit Carver to handle the situation permanently." Emma grabs Sarah's arm as she sways on her feet. "Sarah, sit down. Don't listen to him. He's trying to manipulate you." But Townsend continues relentlessly. "Why do you think you were assigned to Maya's cold case, Detective Chun? Pure coincidence? Your father requested specifically that you be kept away from anything connected to the trafficking network. But when you started asking questions anyway, he had to get more creative." Sarah's mind races through the events of the past 2 years. Her assignment to cold cases, the anonymous envelope that led her to the photography studio, the perfect timing of Emma's investigation converging with her own. "You're saying my father orchestrated all of this?" "I'm saying your father spent 11 years trying to keep Maya Kellner's evidence buried. But when you started getting close to the truth, He realized the only way to control the damage was to guide your investigation himself. Emma steps forward. That's enough. Governor, anything else you say can wait for your lawyer. But Sarah needs to hear more. If my father was involved, why would he lead me to the evidence? Townsend's smile is cruel. Because he knew the network was falling apart anyway. Sterling got careless, Carver became a liability, and new investigations were opening up all over the country. Your father decided to sacrifice the lower levels of the operation to protect the people at the top. Including himself? Including himself. By positioning you as the hero who exposed the network, he could ensure that certain evidence never came to light. Evidence that would implicate him directly. Sarah feels Emma's hand on her shoulder, steady and reassuring. But the ground beneath. Her feet still feels unstable, as if everything she believed about her life and career has been built on a foundation of lies. Her phone rings. The caller ID shows Dad. Sarah stares at the screen for a long moment, then answers, "Hello, Robert." Sarah. Her father's voice is carefully controlled, but she can hear the strain underneath. I've been watching the news coverage of the Riverside arrests. You did good work, did I? Or did I just do exactly what you wanted me to do? A pause. I don't know what you mean. I'm looking at a photograph of you, taken by Maya Kellner 11 years ago. You're wearing a Riverside County Fair security uniform. You want to explain that to me? The silence stretches for nearly 30 seconds. When her father speaks again, his voice has aged 10 years. Sarah, there are things about that case, about my career, that you don't understand. Decisions I made to protect you and your mother. Protect us from what? From the consequences of exposing the wrong people. Sarah, the network Maya documented. It goes higher than you can imagine. Federal officials, Supreme Court justices, international corporations. I got involved because I thought I could control it, limit the damage, protect the local kids. Sarah feels sick. You were trafficking children to protect children. I was trying to minimize harm in an impossible situation. The network was going to operate with or without my cooperation. At least with me involved, I could influence which kids were targeted, ensure some level of humanity in the process. Humanity? Sarah's voice cracks with rage. You participated in the murder of a 17-year-old girl. Maya Kellner was going to destroy everything. Her evidence would have brought down good people along with the bad ones. Your mother's career, your future. Dozens of honest cops who had no idea what was happening. So you had her killed. I suggested alternatives. Relocation, witness protection, financial compensation for her silence. Carver was supposed to scare her, not murder her. But he was unstable, obsessed with his photography collection. He went too far. Sarah looks at Emma, who nods grimly. The conversation is being recorded, every word her father speaks adding to the evidence against him. Sarah, her father continues, desperation creeping into his voice. You have to understand. I've spent 11 years trying to make amends, getting you assigned to cold cases, making sure you had the resources to investigate properly, even arranging for you to find Maya's evidence when the time was right. The anonymous envelope, you sent it. I've been planning this for years. A controlled exposure that would bring down the network without destroying innocent people. You were supposed to be the hero, Sarah. The honest cop who solved the unsolvable case. Sarah looks at the Nikon camera in her hands, feeling Maya's presence like a warm current running through the metal and glass. But Maya had other plans. Maya's dead, Sarah. She can't hurt anyone anymore. Maya's not dead, Dad. She's been fighting this network every day for 11 years. And she's not finished yet. Sarah raises the camera and looks through the viewfinder. In the distance, she can see her father's car parked outside their old house in Riverside, the house he'd made them, abandoned 11 years ago. Through Maya's camera, she can see him too, Robert Chun, sitting in his car with a gun in his hands, staring at the house where his family used to live before his choices destroyed everything. "Dad," Sarah says softly into the phone, "it's time to come home. It's time to face what you've done." The line goes silent except for the sound of her father crying. And in that moment of devastating truth, Sarah finally understands why Maya's camera chose her to complete this story. 3 months later, Sarah stands in the same basement darkroom where her investigation began, but everything has changed. The space has been transformed into a memorial gallery, walls lined not with carvers' grotesque trophies, but with portraits of survivors and victims, each photograph a testament to lives that mattered. Maya's Nikon sits on the developer's table, no longer clicking mysteriously in the darkness. The camera is silent now, its supernatural mission fulfilled, but Sarah can still feel its weight of purpose every time she picks it up. Emma emerges from the back room carrying a fresh set of prints, the final batch of evidence, photographs that will complete the prosecution's case. The network's collapse has been methodical and devastating. 43 arrests across 7 states, including Governor Townsend, Victoria Sterling, and 12 federal officials whose names Sarah had never imagined would appear on an indictment. "How's he doing?" Emma asks, nodding toward the corner where Robert Chun sits in a wheelchair, his recovery from the self-inflicted gunshot wound slow but steady. "Better," Sarah says, though the word feels inadequate. Her father survived his suicide attempt. But the man who emerged from surgery was fundamentally different, hollow, broken, genuinely repentant for the first time in 11 years. His testimony sealed the case. Against the upper levels of the network. And you? How are you dealing with all this? Sarah considers the question carefully. The revelation of her father's involvement had shattered every assumption she'd held about her life and career. The investigation that followed revealed a conspiracy that reached into the highest levels of government, with her father serving as a middleman who'd convinced himself he was limiting damage while enabling atrocities. "I'm learning to separate the man who raised me from the man who made those choices," Sarah says finally. "Maya helped me understand that even good people can make terrible decisions when they're afraid. But that doesn't excuse the harm they cause." She picks up the Nikon and looks through its viewfinder one final time. The basement appears normal through the lens now, no ghostly figures, no supernatural visions, just the physical reality of a space that's been reclaimed for justice rather than exploitation. "Do you still see her?" Emma asks softly. "Not like before. But sometimes, when I'm working the case and I need to remember why truth matters more than comfort, I can feel her presence. Like she's reminding me to keep shooting, keep documenting, keep believing that exposure leads to healing." The basement door opens, and Detective Martinez descends the stairs. His arm is still in a sling from the gunshot wound, but he's returned to active duty with a new assignment, heading up the FBI's Human Trafficking Task Force for the Pacific Northwest. "Ladies," he says, "we've got a situation. 3 missing kids in Portland, and the suspect vehicle matches descriptions from the Riverside network. Could be copycat activity, or the network had more branches than we discovered," Sarah finishes. She stands and shoulders her camera bag, the familiar weight of Maya's Nikon a comforting presence. "What do we know?" "Enough to know we need photographers who understand how to document this kind of crime scene." "You interested in a consulting position, Detective Chun?" Sarah looks at Emma, who nods encouragingly. Over the past 3 months, they've developed a partnership that transcends their original connection through Maya. Sarah's investigative instincts combined with Emma's federal resources and Maya's camera as their tool for revealing truth. "I'm interested," Sarah says, "but I have conditions." "Name them." "We work every case like Maya would have document everything, protect the victims first, and never accept that justice is impossible just because the perpetrators are powerful." Martinez grins. "I was hoping you'd say that." "Emma, you ready for another road trip?" Always, Emma replies, then turns to Robert Chun. Mr. Chun, would you like us to help you back upstairs before we leave? Sarah's father looks up from his wheelchair, his face showing the weight of his choices but also a determination that Sarah recognizes from her own reflection. I'll be fine down here for a while. I want to spend some time looking at these photographs, remembering why this work matters. He gestures toward the memorial wall, where Maya's senior portrait hangs alongside images of all the children whose lives were lost or forever changed by the network he'd helped enable. Sarah, he says quietly as she reaches the stairs, Maya was right about you. She chose well. Sarah pauses, considering her response. The anger she'd felt toward her father has evolved into something more complex: grief for the man she thought he was, acceptance of the man he actually is, and cautious hope for the man he might still become. Maya was right about a lot of things, Sarah says finally, including the fact that redemption is possible, but only after accountability. She climbs the stairs with Emma and Martinez, leaving her father alone with the photographs of the children whose lives his choices had affected. Outside, the Pacific Northwest rain falls steadily, washing the world clean in preparation for whatever truth they'll uncover next. As they drive toward the airport, Sarah pulls out Maya's camera and advances to a fresh frame. Through the viewfinder, she can see the road ahead stretching into uncertainty, but she's no longer afraid of what they might find. Maya Kellner spent her final weeks documenting a network of evil that seemed too powerful to expose. She died believing that someone would continue her work, that truth would eventually triumph over the machinery of exploitation and cover-up. 11 years later, that belief has been vindicated. The camera clicks once as Sarah captures the moment, not a supernatural phenomenon this time, but the simple mechanical function of a tool designed to preserve truth. In the developed image, she knows there will be 3 figures heading toward their next case: a detective seeking redemption through justice, an FBI agent honoring her sister's memory, and the spirit of a teenage photographer whose work will never truly be finished as long as stories remain untold. Maya's camera has found its new purpose, and its new bearers understand the responsibility that comes with it. Some truths are too important to stay buried, and some stories are too vital to remain untold. The investigation continues,